start with since we've talked about it on stream here before, the only person who hasn't really said anything before we touch on it ourselves again is TJ.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, we're
So,
going there. All right.
I mean,
In
you don't have
my
to
start,
go too deep in dark if you don't want. If you want to give us the spark notes, you can.
Wait, about what? I'm sorry.
About
One guy
TJ's.
playing D&D.
Yeah.
About TJ D&D.
so, I am descended from nerds. It's actually how my dad met my mom at a large event. So that puts it into context, I think, fairly well.
That's awesome.
And I was about 4 or 5 years old. I was about the age my daughter is now. And my dad, he would always invite his friends over to play BattleTech, Shadowrun, Gamma World, D&D. And this is all way back in the day, with like a lot of the really older editions. And my dad, he was a huge also like wargaming nerd. He had a bunch of old like Warhammer Fantasy and Warhammer 40K models. He had a bunch of his own like D&D models and Mech Warrior models, and he painted them all up himself. Well, of course, every little kid wants to be, or at least I did. I wanted to be a lot like Dad. And then when I saw him and his buddies playing D&D, I noticed he hosted at our house, and there was one game where one of his friends didn't show up, and thus there was an empty chair at the table. So I asked Dad if I could sit there and watch and listen and have fun. And my dad said, "Sure, as long as you can behave yourself and be quiet." Well, I did, and I paid attention. And of course, I talked out of turn all the time, but of course, what kid doesn't? But then he noticed I was paying a little more attention than he expected. So then he, as I'm like learning how to read, he actually drew up a character for me. He asked like what I wanted to do. I told him tough, but I wanted to be like holy and stuff like that. And I was really, really big into Diablo and stuff like that at the time. And when he described a paladin to me, I was like, "Oh, that is awesome! He's holy and he's a warrior. That's so cool." So my very first character was at my dad's table. I was 5 years old, and I made a dwarven paladin named Lestat because
Lestat.
yeah,
Because of course.
because of course.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, exactly. It's exactly what you think. And
Great.
he had a double-headed pickaxe. So on one head it had a hammer, and on the other head it had a pick. And I could switch between blunt and piercing damage.
Nice.
And I actually used it to, the party ran into like a wall, and it was like a brick, like there's just a brick wall in the hallway, just like, "Fuck you, this hallway's bricked up." And I was like, "Oh, hammer!" Because like the rogue is trying to find the secret entrance and stuff like that, and the ranger's like, "What do we do?" And the druid's like, "Well, if we wait 10 hours, I can like move the earth." And I was just like, wham, wham, wham. Because of course I'm thinking with 5-year-old logic. I'm thinking, well, I have a hammer, there's a wall. I'm going through the wall.
Yeah.
If we can't get the wall to move, I will move it. And I just needed more. And I kind of had this, part of like the ADD I had as a kid is I tended to like over fixate on things, and I needed more. Like I just needed to hear more. I needed to know like this how the story ended, and like D&D doesn't end. You never get to the end of the story.
Well, you do when people die.
And well, people die, but then you reroll a new character or you join another campaign. And my dad ended up like letting me join more tables. Like even when all of his friends were there, he would like have me pull up my chair to the table, and then I started going with him to places, and he used to take me to FanQuest back when it was still on 8th Street, and I started playing D&D there, and then yeah, that's how I got into D&D. And there was a long period of time after my dad passed away that I shut down really hard, and I ended up giving away all my D&D stuff, and I just couldn't bear the thought of it. And then I watched Critical Role, and I started playing at FanQuest again, and then I started DMing because it started making me feel close to him again. And now every time I play, I feel as close as I really can be. Even though he's not there, I feel like he kind of is,
That's awesome.
Oh, that's awesome. That's pretty good. That's great. That's awesome.
See,
Okay.
and it's really fun because like to kind of jump in with how I got into D&D. I've played for a while and then I fell out of it really hard just because I couldn't find a group. And then I met TJ at work and he was like, "Hey, come be a part of this group." And I did. And then I got back in. So I think it's really cool that completely different age groups, but you kind of did what your dad did to you for me, where I had a general understanding, but you were like, "No, this is why it's awesome." And yeah, so thank you very much for at least pulling me back in. I appreciate you.
Malfoy, if you want, go ahead. I'd be
Yeah.
honored.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's get that sent to our long-haired friend and see exactly what he says about it.
I gotta say though,
And
listening.
it's so funny because the way me and Ian like met was like we both worked at the same office, and he had just got hired, and one of the trainers came out and was like, "Hey TJ, somebody in the training class is really into that like nerd stuff you are." And I was like, "What?" And I said, "Yeah, it's the tall blonde guy." And I said, "Really?" So then he ends up getting put on my team, and he gets sat right next to me because my team lead's like, "Hey TJ, I want to put you with one of the rookies so that way if he has questions, like he can just ask you, and you're tenured so you can just help him out." And I was like, "Can I make a request? Can it be a specific rookie?" And she was like, "I don't care." And I was like, "Okay, I want the tall guy." And so Ian sits down. And I'm like, "Oh, dude, I hear tabletop games." You're like, "Yeah, kind of." And I was like, "Hi, my name's TJ." And I kid you not, I said this. I looked at him and I went, "We're gonna be best friends."
Just like
And he like
that.
shook my hand, like, "Okay."
Next thing you know,
Wonderful.
2 weeks later, he's like, "Hey, I have a game if you want to come sit in at my table." And I was like, "Yes."
Like, and you were so nervous at first. You're like, "I don't even know if I'll remember the rules." And I'm like, I played a lot of Shadowrun, but like that was back in the day, and I don't know if I can RP. And I was like, "Dude, it's fine. It's just a home game. Like, it's chill." And you made Malachi, or no, first you made Geldar.
I
the
made
title.
Geldar the titled.
Oh my God, Geldar. And then you came up with Armory, and
Yup.
then came Malachi,
Yup.
and now you're gonna be the next big like DM streamer.
Oh, you flatter me, sir. But honestly, I'll say, at least for myself, I owe a lot of where I'm at with D&D to you, my friend, and I appreciate you. So thank you very much. And before this gets even more feelsy and emotional, let's move on to somebody else, shall we?